One of the things that's really important to me is to always be real with you. And today's episode is a little different than some of the episodes we've talked about in the past. We talk a lot about mindset and emotional intelligence. We have had people on talking about various wealth building strategies. One of the things that we often ignore, and it's interesting because in this podcast, we haven't talked a ton about it. And I think in real life, it's a reflection of what we actually do in real life. And the thing that we most ignore as part of our human experience is our body. So today, I want to talk about that physical human that you use to do your good work in the world, and really take a moment to pause and ask yourself, are you really taking good care of yourself? Because the truth is, no one is going to take better care of your body and advocate for your body more than you. You were given this body to take care of, and I want you to be here and do what you do as long as you possibly can. So let's dive in. Hey, you leader, entrepreneur, business owner, solopreneur, whatever you call yourself, we know you're a visionary business builder, wealth seeker looking to combine a passion for doing good with leading consciously. It's time to shift from a traditional focus of pure wealth accumulation to one that integrates well-being and fulfillment. You're here for a purpose, and it's time to shine your light. So here we go. Welcome back to the Conscious Edge podcast. I'm your host, Alecia St. Germain, founder of the Conscious Edge, where I help women entrepreneurs and small business owners to create more capacity in their life, whether that's emotionally, energetically, financially. We put everything into alignment so business becomes sustainable and enjoyable and fulfilling, and you live a full life. If you are brand new here, I am so glad you are here. We put these new episodes out every single week, and we cover every single aspect of what it's like to be a human, build a business, and everything that we go through. So typically, these podcasts will cover some aspect of leadership or emotional intelligence or wealth building strategy or mindset around wealth building and money. But we don't often talk about our bodies. And as I am in my midlife, like getting ready in a couple months to turn 46, I am noticing a lot of shifts in my body. And I said something to my podcast producer. You may very well be listening to this podcast. You may have noticed, if you are a loyal listener, thank you so much for being here. And you may or may not have noticed that this podcast episode aired not on our usual Tuesday. And so I had sent a message to my podcast producer and I said, hey, listen, I have to reprioritize some things. Some things have come up and I'm not going to make my deadline. Totally understand that the podcast may not get produced on time. This is my choice. Like, please don't feel obligated to like bend over backwards, or I know the consequences of the choices that I'm making. And we were talking, she, of course, immediately was like, everything okay? What's going on? And I said, no, everything is fine. I just am handling a lot, and I'm having to make the choice between taking care of my body and getting enough sleep and getting the podcast done on time and some other things done on time. And I am choosing consciously to prioritize my body, because what I have come to realize is that if, as I age, there are things I'm learning, and I'm going to share some resources today, some things that I'm following and doing that you can go check out. I am not an affiliate of any of these things. These are just things I am using in my real life to help me be optimal, to help me be at my best, because I know that I want to age well. And I don't just mean like, I notice more wrinkles showing up on my face, and I'm definitely like seeing my grandmother's face start to appear in the mirror more and more. People always said I look like her. And even as I've aged, I'm like, oh, I'm seeing her as I remember her even starting to show up in the mirror. And so it's not just about the wrinkles and those things. It's about feeling strong mentally and physically. And so I want to share with you some things that I'm learning, some resources that have been helpful for me, because I know if I'm going through this, someone else is too. And it's interesting because I told my podcast producer, listen, I've got to advocate for myself, my body, because if I'm not taking care of me, who else is? And she was like, oh, I so needed to hear that today. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do a podcast episode about that, because if you're telling me you needed to hear that today, then I know that there is someone listening that also needed to hear this today. And if this isn't for you, I'm a woman. You may be a male listener. Some of what I'm going to share is going to be helpful for you as a man, but also some of what I'm going to share maybe will give you some perspective and resources that you could share with a woman in your life that you also care about, because some of the things are also related maybe to women, but generally everything here could go either way. So I just want to say that piece as well. So one of the things that has come up for me in midlife is I've started to notice that I am not as physically strong as I used to be. And I am someone who was very fortunate through my life. I did not need to work out to look like have a nice body type. So it was something that came easy to me. I have been naturally thin. I like my shape, all of the things. So I never felt compelled to go have to put effort into what I ate or working out. And as I've entered midlife, though, some of that I've seen a little bit of shift, things start to droop a little bit more. So there is that piece. But more importantly, I'm not as strong as I used to be. And that does not feel, I don't like that. I'm a very independent person. I've had some neck surgery. I've had to have a disc replaced in my neck due to an injury in my 20s. And so I do have to sometimes be careful, and maybe my body doesn't do what it used to do, but also being strong is so important. And as I am listening, I love to listen to podcasts. One of my absolute favorite podcasts is The Diary of a CEO. They just cover so many things. And I feel like it just gives me, I don't agree with everything that's on there, but it just keeps me like engaged in learning new things and then deciding what's for me and what's not. So that's one of my absolute favorite podcasts. And they do talk a lot about women. Steve Bartlett does an amazing job of advocating for women's health and for talking about aging and aging gracefully and preserving your brain and brain health. So that's been really helpful to have that information as well. And so as I am kind of analyzing like what's in alignment, one of the things that I am very adamant in the coaching that I do with my clients at The Conscious Edge is we are the intersection of brain science, like how the brain works, like a soul-based business where you are fulfilled and it feels soul-led and it's coming from a place of you are part of a bigger picture and you serve a purpose. So it's really about being purpose-driven, like solid financial strategy. And that is why we have Jen Boss, who comes on regularly and does the monthly money talks with Zen Jen. And so I look at every single one of my clients and I am looking at the holistic picture. I am looking at what about your life is working and is in alignment with your values and what is not working. And then how do we shift that so that all of your needs are met? And I am not the type to say like, oh, just go do what you love and you'll be happy, because there is a reality to life, right? We need money. And so one of the first questions I always ask my clients is like, what's your immediate need financially? Like, are you safe? Maybe you don't have everything you want, but like, do you have your basic human needs met? And so we do look at all of those pieces, but how do we start to take steps to bring everything into alignment where you feel fulfilled, it is sustainable, and you are taking good care of yourself? And one of the things that I think happens in the wealth building and business building space is that there's this idea that you are trading today's comfort for tomorrow's freedom, right? So you might do things today that are uncomfortable, that stretch you, that are outside of your comfort zone, and give up certain things so that you can build a free future where you have enough maybe passive income coming in that it covers your expenses. So you have that opportunity to do what you want with your time, the way you want, with who you want, where you want, even that ultimate freedom. But see, here's the big but. And this is what I have come to realize even more so in the last year. I had a period of time where I realized that the way I had put my business together did not reflect how I wanted my life to be. I had a little daughter who didn't sleep very well. I was working my business at night, and I was training people in a strategy of investing in real estate. And it was like, this isn't working for my life. I am not sleeping at night. I'm waking up early with her. I'm not happy. So I reorganized my business so that I was working differently. And that really worked, right? So it worked to bring my business into alignment with my lifestyle. But the thing that I have continued to struggle with all along, and I know I'm not the only one, because I think a majority of entrepreneurs that I talk to also have some aspect that they don't take care of their bodies really well. And so it's like, I'm going to put off my comfort, right? So we think of like going without sleep, skipping on workouts, not eating healthy, not slowing down to eat properly. And that, unfortunately, is not the place to sacrifice. It would be better if you're going to sacrifice. It would be better to sacrifice from like fun and like finding the fun and finding the joy in your business, and like saying no to some of the relationships and some of the superficial things that are not important to you. When I was young, I used to have a lot of superficial relationships where they weren't the kind of people that I could really depend on, but they were a lot of fun to be with, but they were definitely not the people I would call if I needed anything. And as soon as I stopped calling those people, those relationships went away. Like there was no effort made. And so sacrificing sleep to keep those kinds of empty, not meaningful relationships, or taking vacations that maybe are not necessary because you need to get away. If you need to get away from your life to go on vacation, then I really question like what's not in alignment with your life. Because here's the thing, there is no pill that is going to make up for sleep deprivation. There is no pill that is going to make up for a lifetime of unhealthy eating. There is nothing that's going, because what happens when we do those things is we are increasing our risks for certain health things. And some of us are genetically predisposed towards more things than others. There are some people who go through a lifetime of not eating healthy, not taking good care of their bodies, doing things that we know scientifically are not good for us, and they live well into their 90s. It's their genetics. It is what it is. And then there are people who do the right things, and we lose them very early, like my best friend, Anne Marie, who died at 42. And we have no idea. We don't know. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. You don't know if tomorrow you're going to step off and that'll be the last day of your life. So one of the things that has become so, and I don't mean to make today like a heavy podcast, but also I just want to be real with you for where I am. And so I've done a number of things for my health. And over the years, I've always been someone who has a lot of food sensitivities. For a huge part of my life, I did not know why I was sick. I have struggled with hormone imbalances. I have had very irregular periods throughout my life. I know I'm sorry, guys. I apologize just right now. And that has always caused problems for me. I've had lots of migraines through my life and a lot of food sensitivities. So my health journey of really like turning around my health really started in my early 30s. And it's been a continuous journey because the science is evolving so much. And there is so much research finally now starting to emerge, just like a little bit. I mean, I don't even want to say so much research because it's like very little compared to the other kinds of research that is out there. But there's some research now emerging for women in middle age and women around hormone health for young girls. And I'm just doing the best that I can. Any of us are just doing the best we can with the information we have available now. And so I find myself very grateful that right now there is such a push towards women's health in midlife once you find the resources, right? So like once you're into the algorithms, once you're into some of the things that you start to see more and your awareness goes up. So you see more and more information emerging and coming out. If it hasn't been part of what you're looking up and you've just been dealing with how you're feeling, then maybe this is a moment to stop and say like, okay, let me look. Because I know I want to be optimal. And my experience going to doctors' offices, I have some really great doctors, but it's taken me a long time to find them. And it takes me a long time sometimes to get into them. So I have to like plan ahead much more. And that's really hard for someone with my brain because I don't remember to do things or take care of myself as actively as I should. And so I have to plan ahead because it's going to take me a minute to get into these amazing doctors that I work with. But also what is covered, and you've experienced this, like what is covered on your insurance is not necessarily what you need for figuring out what's going on with your body and what's needed. It's just what's covered enough to keep you normal. What I have realized about our healthcare system is that it is about you being just like every other average person. And so as our population becomes more and more unhealthy, they just move the numbers of like what's average. Oh, you're in range, not optimal. You're in range for what everybody else. You're equally as unhealthy as everyone else. So as I'm going through, and I don't want to be average. I don't want to be as equally unhealthy as the next person. I want to be optimal for my body. And I have come to realize like what works for one person does not work for everyone. And part of what opened my eyes to that, I worked with a gut health specialist. Her name is Laura Frontero. I'm going to link all of these people that and resources in the show notes for you. But so Laura was somebody that I met through a mastermind actually. And we really, really resonated with her. And so my husband and I have done a lot of gut health and gut restoration, and I saw my health get better. In fact, it was really cool. I was starting to lose my hair at one point after my son was born, well beyond like pregnancy. When you lose your hair, it was like continuing for years and like gobs of hair would fall out. And as I started to work with her and restore my gut health, I had like this halo of hair that was growing back. And this was really cool. Now I'm getting a lot more grays now, but this was really cool. I had plucked a gray hair out one day a couple years ago, and my gray hair had dark roots. So like it actually started to go back to color from being gray, probably because it had the proper nutrition and those kinds of things happening. And I was absorbing nutrition better. But Laura brought in a gentleman named Kosh Khan, who founded the DNA company. And he shared with us a DNA report that you could get done. It's called DNA 360. And so I had our DNA pulled for my entire family. So both my kids and my husband and I, we did functional genomics. It's called functional genomics. That's not like your family history, where are you from? It's called functional genomics. And it is the blueprint of what DNA your body is encoded with. So you do it once. And I look at it as like, this is how my body functions optimally. Now, just because you have something genetically doesn't mean that the gene is being expressed or turned on. But if you're experiencing certain things, then the genetics maybe are the clue, like, okay, this is why I'm experiencing this. So part of the reason that working out has never been a thing for me is because I don't feel good. Like those of you, like those people, if you're a marathon runner, like more power to you, and they get done with the marathon, like, I feel so alive. I love to run. Running makes me feel amazing. Running makes me feel like crap. I need to go take a nap after I run. And what I learned in my genetics is because my body does not do a good job clearing oxidative stress. So what it takes for me to convert and burn energy, I'm not going to explain this nearly as good as he could, but what it takes for me to burn that energy, and I create oxidative stress that my body does not clear well, and then I don't feel well. So my workout routine, based on my time of the month and based on what my genetics say, is different than my husband's. Like my husband does a better job being able to do more like cardiac and aerobic type exercises. So it helped give meaning, but also direction as to what my workouts maybe really should look like instead of what was popular or on trend. And so that was really helpful. We also found out that like my daughter is not someone who converts estrogen to a usable form well, and it can actually be toxic for her. So as she grows up, if she's going to do any kind of hormone replacement therapy or birth control, we have to be very careful about what kind of birth control or hormone replacement she chooses to be on later in life. And my children are young, but I think like what a gift to my child to be able to maybe help give her more information about her body and how it's going to function best, and protect her maybe from breast cancer, because she might have been one that just didn't know. And why this isn't something we just do, I don't know. Probably because there's not enough research to support it. But I wish everybody did. And that's part of why I'm coming on this podcast. And I'm telling you, and I want to empower you to take control of your health and take care of your body, because no one else is doing this. I wish I could remember the name of the man. This is not mine, but I heard this and it just stopped me dead in my tracks. And it has changed the way I think about my body. It was like my spirit, like I believe in spirit and my soul, right? Was given this human body to take care of, to be a good steward of. And so when I don't eat properly, when I don't take care of it, when I am not giving it the nutrition that it needs and the sleep that it needs, and doing everything I can to take really good care of it, I'm not being a good steward of my body, just the same as someone might not be being a good steward of their money and being reckless with their money. So I want to empower you, because no one is looking out for your body the way that you would. And one of the other things that came up in my genetic profile is that, so there's some genetics that are linked to Alzheimer's. And I have one copy of that gene. So if you've listened to some podcasts over the summer, Jonathan and I talked about like neurodivergence a little bit. And I was talking about how I'm on this path to kind of figure out what's going on in my brain. I do think that it's possible that I may have some kind of ADHD. It's very common, I'm hearing, that in midlife, a lot of women, because of estrogen creates dopamine, that a lot of women in midlife who have undiagnosed ADHD will, like, their coping mechanisms will start to go away because their estrogen is dropping. And so I go through these moments of like going downstairs, standing in the basement, and I'm like, why am I down here? And I have to walk back upstairs and I have to be like, what was I going down for the basement for? And that's happening more frequently now. I'm not sleeping as well because of some of the symptoms that go with being in midlife. I don't know if it's like being tired, if it's ADHD flare, like that's really like raging, if it's my hormones, if it's, I said to Maya, like, I don't know if it's a brain tumor, because if you look anything up on the internet, you have a brain, it's a brain tumor. And I'm in the process of figuring that out. So I'm not coming on here to say like, I have all the answers. I'm just telling you what I'm figuring out and sharing with you and what I'm experiencing and what my thought process is around it. So because I have this one copy of the Gene for Alzheimer's, I'm really interested in my brain health and having a very strong brain and figuring out how to protect my brain optimally. So recently I listened to one of the Diary of a CEO podcast episodes with I think it's Luisa Nicola, and she did an episode on Alzheimer's. I will link it because if this is you, if you are someone who has been a caregiver for someone with dementia or Alzheimer's, if you are concerned about your brain health, this podcast was life-changing for me in the way that I think about what is really important. And one of the things that she was talking about is that there are things in your 40s that you can do to protect your heart health and your brain health that if you wait until your 60s, it's too late. Now, if you're somebody in your 60s, like there's things that you can still do, but being that I'm in my 40s, this is where I am right now, that symptoms of this will even show up in your 30s. I just think this is really important podcast episode because for me, I cannot imagine having my body like be in great, like having a stable body and losing my mind, losing who I am as a person and the beautiful memories that I have been making for my whole life. I'm going to protect that with everything that I have. And so like one of the things that she said in there was how important sleep is. And I know that for a lot of people, sleep, there's a certain population of people, especially people with ADHD, or some of the neurospicy types of brains, sleep is challenging. And so it increases your risk significantly and degrades brain health significantly when you don't sleep. And so when I told my podcast producer, I was like, you know what? I love you, my audience. I love you. I care about women and men creating wealth and living full lives and having amazing lives. But if you can't remember it, if you lose that and you don't have your health, like if it's your brain, if it's your body, if you can't enjoy the wealth that you have built, what is it for? And so when I said to her, I was like, I'm actually going to go to bed. I'm not going to push through to do this right now. I'm going to let it be late and I'm going to level with the audience. And I'm going to say I had to prioritize sleeping for my brain health because having a strong mind, being strong is important. And it has taken effort for me to, I've also started to try to develop, I am developing a habit for working out. And part of what is research showing is that more lifting, which is actually what my body from a DNA standpoint needs, is more lifting. So I'm following a program with Chalene Johnson. She used to be part of the Beachbodies. She was one of the, you probably worked out to one of her Beachbodies things at some point if you did any kind of Beachbody workouts. And she felt like she was living a really unhealthy lifestyle. So she's really got a really fun podcast. I don't always listen to all of it. I don't even listen to a majority of it. I just get little tidbits, but she's just such a real person. And she's like your girlfriend who is just going to tell you the truth, like the ugly truth, whatever it is. I admire her courage. She's not afraid to stand up to anybody. She is a spitfire. And so she created this program as part of her journey. One of the things I love about her, and it kind of makes sense because I share with you my real life and my journey, is whatever she's figuring out, she creates a product. She's had several businesses over the years, but she creates something for herself and then she creates a product and she sells it to other people to help them as well, which I so stand behind. So she has a community that she created called Phase It Up, which is specifically for women in midlife. It has workouts. It has ideas for recipes, which I love to cook, but sometimes I get in a food rut. So I really appreciate just tell me what to make tonight. And so that makes it really easy because it reduces the cognitive load of figuring out sometimes what to make for dinner. And she's really big on just whatever you have to start with is enough. And then you're going to make little improvements and tweaks. So I started her program, and for a little bit I was delaying because I don't have free weights here at the house yet. And I was like, you know what? Instead of I need to order my free weights before I can start the workout, what if I just do the workout without the weights? And my body, I can feel it. I can totally feel it. So I'm just committing to the habit of it. And I'm going to keep recommitting and getting better because for me, I want to be strong again. I don't like this feeling of being weak. So that's another resource. If you're a woman in midlife, especially if you have not worked out in your life and you know you want to, and you want to do it in a way that isn't intimidating, because I do not like going to the gym. I feel uncomfortable. I feel like I get that people aren't watching you as much as you think that they are, but I don't know what I'm doing. I feel uncomfortable. It makes me not want to go. And so if that's me, then I need to do something different that works for me. And so being able to work out at home where I don't have to have this anxiety of going to the gym where I'm not comfortable, then I'm going to do that. So it's called Phase It Up. So I definitely recommend checking that out. And there's another podcast episode on Diary of CEO. It was a 2-part podcast on women's health. And they had 4 women that I have been now starting to follow a little bit more, talking all about women's health and working out, what's needed, and how a lot of women are doing a lot of high cardio stuff that isn't actually helping you lose the belly fat that you get in your midsection, those types of things. So that's another podcast. It's 7 hours long, and I get that, but everybody who is struggling with this needs to listen to it. And if you have a partner, you're a man and you have a partner or someone you care about that is going through some of this stuff, send them it. And it will give you so much insight into some of the things that you might currently be doing that are not helping you. So all of that to say, I wanted to share the resources with you. I wanted to share kind of where I was at, but all of that to say, I agree that mindset is everything. And I have mindseted myself many times into physical body exhaustion because my mind is very strong and I can talk myself into doing, I would consider myself to be someone who is relentless, who has a ton of grit, who it's if you tell me, oh, let's just quit, I'll be like, no, we're going to figure this out. Let's do this. And sometimes that's to a detriment. And so if you are sacrificing your physical body to build wealth long-term, my point is we've got to find a different way for you. It isn't an option. It's a non-negotiable. And people are like, oh my gosh, it takes so much time. Like the time to make sure that I eat what I'm supposed to eat, the time to take to work out, the time to make sure I sleep adequately. Yeah, it's a lot. It takes a lot of thought and intention to take really good care of yourself. It is the number one job that you have that only you can do. So when I say we've got to figure out a balance for you, we've got to figure out a better way for you, that means working on the big assumptions, the things that you believe that you're doing in your business that keep you from outsourcing it, the things that keep you in a scarcity mindset where you don't want to spend the money and you're not willing to hire or train or relinquish control. Those things are killing your body, literally, degrading it, shortening your life, making it so that your quality of life long-term may not be there to enjoy the wealth that you are building. And so we've got to figure out a different way. It's not that we don't do it. It's that we figure out a different way. And so I'm even thinking of like, okay, great. I could not handle getting the podcast to my podcast producer on time. Normal me, like old me, would have pushed through and done it because I have made a habit in my life of reaching for business goals at the expense of my body. And I'm saying I'm going to reach my body goals and I'm going to figure out how to also reach the business goals too. So we've got to change up our processes a little bit. We've got to get a little bit farther ahead. We've got to get a different rhythm going. And that is in the process. We had some podcast episodes that we kept in we're a little bit ahead. And over the course of the last couple months, we've used up those podcast episodes. So now I'm in a point where I just didn't have a podcast episode to give her. And so thus we figure it out. So I would say to you, if this episode resonated with you, if you are going through something in the process of building your business where you are not taking good care of yourself in some area of your life, or you have relationships that are super important to you, but are suffering, then let's talk. Because the way that I have put my program together, it's about that holistic view of your business. It's looking at what are you believing to be true in your brain that is causing you to behave in a way that is hurting your body and making it so that you're not taking good care of yourself. What is causing you to abandon relationships and values that are important to you in order to self-protect? But then the other piece of that is also looking at the financial side. That's why we brought Jen Boss into the program and making sure that your financials in your business are the key to figuring out how to afford the help that you need, where to cut costs so that you can reallocate funds in a different way, making sure that you are paying yourself enough to be able to invest in optimizing your health, in making sure you have somebody else to clean your house so that you have time to work out. So for me, I look at the financial side as that's part of the equation to solve, because it gives you the resources that you need to do that one most important thing. Because no one else is coming to take care of you. You have got to take care of this physical body that you have. So I hope that this is a wake-up call for you. I love to have fun. I love to have lighthearted conversations, but I'm also known for telling people the loving, hard to hear things that they need to hear that actually create change. And that's why people come to work with me, is not because I'm going to tell you what you want to hear, not because I'm going to buy your excuses that you're making, but because we create real change. And we create real lasting change for you that has you thinking and showing up differently in your life, because that's ultimately what you want. And so I stand for that. And I'm going to tell you the hard things. So I would say today's podcast, probably because I'm not feeling my best. I did sleep. I took the morning to just rest. I moved very slowly. The only thing on my list today was to record this particular podcast for you. And so I am taking care of myself, but also I just wanted to be real with you. And I hope that you take this, if this landed for you, I hope you take this as a wake-up call. I would love to talk to you if you are finding that your life is out of balance and you're not taking good care of your body. And that is something that you want deeply to figure out how to make the time and have the energy to do. We can look at, where are you misaligned? Where is your energetic misalignment? Where emotionally are you getting caught up in things that is stealing your time? Where financially is the math not mathing for you? Those are all things that we can figure out. So I would highly encourage you to reach out to me. Let's talk and let's figure out how we can support you in showing up for yourself, to take care of yourself. So with all of that being said, I am sending you so much love, and be well. Thanks for listening to the Conscious Edge podcast. Make sure you subscribe and take a moment to be kind and share this episode with someone you care about. Leave a review to help us bring more compassionate leaders building businesses and creating wealth to the table. And for show notes, head over to consciousedge.com/podcast. This podcast and the linked materials are presented solely for general information, educational, and entertainment purposes and should not be taken as personal or medical advice or any kind of mental health treatment. Please consult a medical or mental health professional if you feel you need such services. Please be advised that all investing and entrepreneurial endeavors involve risk, and the use of the education and information on this podcast and linked materials is at the user's own risk.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.